Joining us now is Nick Ackerman, who is a Watergate prosecutor, the perfect person to talk through all of the testimony we saw. Nick, what are your top takeaways from the hearing yesterday?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway here is that Donald Trump knew about the fact that there would be violence up at the Capitol before it happened. We know that a couple of days before January 6th, that Trump knew that Mike Pence, his vice president, was not going to disregard the electoral votes from the battleground states, that he was not going to send those votes back to the battleground states, to the legislatures. And so his only option to actually stop the process was through the violence and mayhem, to hope that the whole process would stop, that it wouldn't happen on January 6th, and that there would then be an opportunity to send all of that back to the battleground states to try and get the state legislatures again to come up with the phony electors, of confirming those phony electors, or in some way changing the vote in those states. The key is we now know that Donald Trump knew that violence was part of this plot.
It's a really important point, and I think all along the committee has been laying out all of the different facets of this large alleged conspiracy. And there is a question that everybody keeps asking, whether it be the Department of Justice thread, whether it be the insurrection and Proud Boys thread, whether it be the pressure campaign on Mike Pence, all of those threads go back to the question of intent. So has the committee presented enough evidence through Hutchinson's testimony now to, in your view, pretty much knock down all of the defenses in terms of the question around Donald Trump's intent?
Oh, I think if you put it all together, you have to look at this in the context of all the evidence that they presented. Clearly, he knew that this idea that the election was rigged was a big lie. I mean, this was something that his henchman, Roger Stone, started back in 2016 during the Republican primaries, claiming that the election was being rigged and the primaries were being stolen. I mean, he continued it. It's a technique that he's continued throughout, and it's clear that he was told throughout, even by his own attorney general, that the election was not rigged and there was not fraud that basically undermined his election victory. He also knew, with respect to Mike Pence, that was not something that was proper. He was told that was illegal. The committees offered evidence on that. With respect to the attorney general trying to replace Jeffrey Rosen with Jeffrey Clark, who was going to basically be his lapdog, he knew that that was improper. He was told that was improper. And he finally had to back off only because he realized that what he was doing would have resulted in a huge wave of resignations from the Department of Justice. Every step along the way, the committee has made it pretty clear, just as they said in their opening statement, that this entire scheme was set up and manipulated and organized by the capo de tutti capo, Donald Trump. So when you look at all of the evidence as to how he proceeded on this thing, each step of the way, trying to get the electors thrown out through Mike Pence, trying to get the attorney general changed so he could get a letter to the state legislatures, trying to get them to overturn the electoral votes. Every time he failed, he was finally left with only one option, and that's the option we heard about yesterday, which was the violence and the mayhem to stop the vote. Fortunately, that did not work because Mike Pence stuck in there, Congress stuck in, and the vote was completed on January 6th.
One of the other questions that came up at the end of the hearing that I think may
prison. So, yes, and I also agree that the only reason that the committee suddenly came up with this new hearing yesterday and had Cassidy Hutchinson testify yesterday out of line without waiting for a couple of weeks, I think is because they were concerned that she was being pressured, that she was being, that she received messages like that, maybe one of these messages, in fact, and that's what really caused them to move her testimony up to yesterday, for fear that somehow the Trump people would finally reach her or that she would decide that she wouldn't testify. So, yes, I think this is a real problem. I would hope that the Department of Justice is investigating this now. And this, in and of itself, is a serious enough felony to send somebody to prison for 20 years. I mean, this is what Roger Stone had been convicted of previously, and then had been pardoned by Donald Trump.
It's an incredible time to be an American, living through this history. And as you know, Nick, living through Watergate, these are moments I think we're going to talk to our grandkids and the next generation about. Former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman, thank you so much for being here and helping us understand this. Please stay safe. Hi, I'm Zerlina Maxwell. Thanks for checking out our channel on YouTube. You can see more from Zerlina by clicking any of the videos on this screen, and make sure you subscribe below to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. Thanks for watching.